Chrono Odyssey is an upcoming open-world MMORPG that literally lets you bend time. Bold claim, right? Promises next-gen Unreal Engine 5 visuals, a massive seamless world, and gameplay twists that could redefine the genre. But hold on. We've all seen flashy MMO trailers before. Another gorgeous Korean MMO with big promises. What's new? Here's the twist. Chrono Odyssey might actually break the cycle. From its time warping mechanics, a surprisingly fair business model, it's doing things that most MMORPGs don't. Is this a game that finally levels up to the MMO experience, or just another hype train waiting to derail? Let's slow down time and dive deep into everything we know so far. Alright, back to Chrono Odyssey. What is this game and why is everyone excited? Chrono Odyssey is a next-generation open-world action MMORPG in development by Korean studio Pixel, with global publishing by Kakao Games. It's built on Unreal Engine 5, which means that the graphics and world design are absolutely jaw-dropping. We're talking cinematic visuals, huge draw distances, dynamic weather and day-night cycles, and near-instant load times between regions. The world of Chrono Odyssey, called Satera, isn't your typical fantasy setting either. Satera is a fractured realm shaped by time and conflict. One minute you're exploring a lush medieval kingdom, and the next you're stepping into a desolate post-apocalyptic wasteland. In the same world? How? Time has literally broken reality into different eras, coexisting. As a player, you're a member of the Sentinel, a special group fighting to protect existence from divine forces and cosmic horrors that seep through these temporal rifts. In short, the story mixes high fantasy with sci-fi and even horror elements. You might battle mythical creatures with a sword and shield, then face eldritch abominations or futuristic monstrosities that defy logic the next. The developers cite influences from classics like Chrono Trigger, no surprise, and even some Lovecraftian vibes, so expect a unique atmosphere. Crucially, time manipulation is at the core of both the story and gameplay. You're not just watching time travel cutscenes, you get to control time in combat and exploration. Every player wields an artifact called a chronotector, which lets you interact with the past and future. In gameplay terms, this means you can rewind events, alter environments, and discover hidden paths to solve puzzles or access secret areas. Imagine turning back time to rebuild a crumbled bridge or freezing an enemy in mid-air. That's the kind of vibe Chrono Odyssey is going for. It's an ambitious design. Time travel isn't just a narrative gimmick, it's part of how you play and progress. What? Let's talk gameplay, specifically classes and combat. Chrono Odyssey features 6 distinct classes planned at launch: Swordsman, Ranger, Sorcerer, Paladin, Assassin, and Berserker. Each class comes with 3 weapon types unique to them, which define their fighting style. For example, Swordsman can wield a greatsword, dual blades, or sword and shield for versatile offense or defense. Ranger excels at range with a longbow or crossbow, but can also fight up close with a rapier. Sorcerer, a spellcaster that uses arcane tools like a staff, spellbook, or magical orb to unleash elemental fury. Assassin, a rogue who isn't limited to daggers. Assassins use wristblades for quick melee, a musket for ranged shots, and even a katana for deadly strikes. Paladin, a holy warrior armored with combinations like a spear or classic sword and shield for a tanky supportive role. And Berserker, the brute force class, favoring dual axes or a giant great axe. Their third weapon hasn't been revealed yet, but expect something equally brutal. Each class has its own skill trees tied to these weapons. Here's the cool part. You can equip 2 different weapons at once and swap between them freely in combat. That means you could, say, switch from Swordsman sword and shield defense to dual blade offense on the fly, or a Ranger could swap from bow to rapier mid-fight. This dual weapon system makes combat incredibly dynamic and lets you adapt your playstyle on the go. Combat itself is real-time action, no tap targeting here, and has been compared to Souls-like games in feel. So you know it's gonna be difficult. You'll be dodging, blocking, parrying, and timing your attacks carefully. In fact, the developers describe it as easy to learn, hard to master, with a high skill ceiling where timing and precision matter. Button mashers, beware, spamming skills won't cut it. Interestingly, they're not overloading you with dozens of hotbar skills. Each ability you unlock is assigned to serve a distinct purpose, so strategy and timing trump sheer APM, actions per minute. One standout feature is the use of time manipulation powers in combat. Chrono Odyssey gives player abilities like time rewind and time freeze. These aren't just gimmicks, they're integral to combat. For example, you can rewind time a few seconds during a fight to dodge a fatal blow or reposition, essentially negating a mistake if you react fast. Or you can freeze enemies in time, immobilizing them while you unleash a combo or get a breather. The combination of traditional combat mechanics like dodging and blocking with these time powers creates a tactical playground we haven't seen in MMOs before. Pardon my accent. You're not just fighting the enemy, you're fighting time itself, bending it to your will. Another big plus, every class can solo. Chrono Odyssey is designed with a soft holy trinity. Yes, these are tanky builds and healing-oriented builds, but no class is hardlocked into being useless alone. Healers and tanks are said to be capable of holding their own in solo content, which is a huge quality of life feature. If you usually play support in MMOs, you know the pain of trying to quest or grind alone. Chrono Odyssey aims to solve that. You can build hybrids too. Maybe your paladin is offensively spec'd or your sorcerer has some support skills. This flexibility encourages players to experiment with builds without worrying that they picked the wrong class for solo play. What about PvE content? An MMO lives or dies by the stuff we get to do in its world. Chrono Odyssey is leaning heavily into exploration and dynamic PvE rather than just repetitive raids. First off, the world is seamless and massive, with no loading screens as you traverse Cetra's diverse regions. The developers want you to feel like you're on one continuous adventure across eras. As you explore, you'll encounter chrono gates. These are like mysterious portals or arenas that trigger solo boss fights. Think of them as scattered challenges where you face a powerful foe one-on-one, testing your skills and timing, and likely your mastery of those time powers. It's almost like finding a world boss, but tuned for solo players. Of course, group content is here too. Co-op dungeons called expeditions will allow small parties 3 to 5 players to tackle harder PvE challenges together. These expeditions are described as tactical group content, meaning you'll want a good mix of classes and some coordination. There's mention of field bosses as well, likely big open world bosses that spawn in certain areas for anyone nearby to band together and defeat. So even if large-scale raids, say 20 man or 40 man, aren't the focus at launch, we will have epic boss fights in the open world that brings players together. The world of Cetera itself is a constantly changing stage. Because of those time rifts, the environment can shift dynamically, new events, hidden areas, or even terrain changes can occur as time weaves itself in knots. The developers have emphasized immersive exploration. You might be fishing in a lake and pull up a strange artifact that starts a quest, or find a secret tunnel that leads to a puzzle involving time manipulation. Labyrinths, time portals, and trials are mentioned as part of exploration, which sounds like puzzle dungeons or mini-games that rewards curious players. Importantly, Chrono Odyssey is aiming for small group fun over zergs. They've said content is tuned for solo play or small parties rather than massive raids. Don't worry though, it's still very much an MMO. The game will have large shared servers with a hefty population roaming the world simultaneously. You might team up with others spontaneously for a world boss or a public event, but you won't be forced into a giant raid schedule just to progress. This could be a breath of fresh air for those of us who prefer a more relaxed or flexible PvE experience. On the flip side, if you love huge raids, that may not be a launch feature here. Chrono Odyssey is taking a different approach, at least initially, focusing on quality of cooperation over sheer numbers. Now onto PvP, always a hot topic in MMOs. Chrono Odyssey's philosophy on PvP is interesting. They're incorporating it, but not as rote arena or battleground modes, at least not that we know of yet. Instead, they're going for a PvEVP approach, meaning PvPs often intertwine with PvE objectives. One key example is a system of bounty hunts. Throughout Cetera, players can undertake bounty quests to track down powerful monsters or bosses. Here's the catch: you're not the only one after the prize. Other players or parties can be hunting the same target, and you might end up competing to land the killing blow or claim the loot. These bounty missions are described as goal-oriented content, where PvP can emerge naturally because everyone wants the rare drop at the end. In fact, in the game's UI, bounty quests have been shown in red font, which developers hinted means PvP could be involved. During a closed alpha, bounty hunts reportedly became the most played content. People loved the mix of fighting bosses and each other for rewards. Outside of structured bounties, open-world PvP flagging does exist. It's said to function similarly to World of Warcraft's PvP flag system. You can choose to flag yourself for PvP and engage in combat with others who are flagged. If you're the peaceful type, you won't be forced into random ranks. If you're craving some spontaneous skirmishes, flag up and have at it. There might be specific zones or times where PvP is enabled more broadly via events, but the baseline is opt-in PvP. We saw in the developing footage that players' nameplates change color when they're in PvP mode, so you know who's up for a fight. This suggests Chrono Odyssey isn't going full open PK everywhere, like the old school Lineage days. It's aiming to let PvP happen in a controlled way. The developers hinted that more PvP modes or systems are on the horizon. Possibly things like small-scale battlegrounds or competitive duels could come in later. But they've been clear, the game is fundamentally PvE focused, with PvP as a meaningful sideshow, not the main event. For many, that's a relief. How many times have we seen a high PvP MMO die because it's neglected PvE? For others, it raises concern. Will Chrono Odyssey have enough PvP to keep competitive players interested long term? We'll have to see. For now, the idea of organically mixing PvE and PvP through systems like bounties is pretty cool. It could create those memorable, unpredictable encounters where a rival group invades your boss fight at the last minute. Risk versus reward, emergent player trophies, that's the hope. Progression in Chrono Odyssey isn't your run-of-the-mill theme park leveling. In fact, this MMO is embracing a free-form progression design. Alonso, but what does this mean? Essentially, you're not railroaded by a main story quest or forced to grind mobs endlessly to level up. You can level up by doing whatever activities you enjoy the most. So, good news for peaceful gamers out there. Love crafting and gathering? You can theoretically reach max level without killing a single monster. This is a big departure for most MMOs where combat is king. The developers want players of all playstyles, fighters, crafters, explorers, even role players to progress in a way that feels rewarding. It harkens back to the spirit of early MMORPGs, where the world didn't revolve solely around quest hubs and kill 10 RAS tasks. In Chrono Odyssey, you might spend an evening fishing, cooking, or exploring hidden caves and still make tangible progress on your character. Let's break down some life skills confirmed in the game. You'll be able to gather resources through activities like said before, fishing, logging, woodcutting, mining, herbalism, gathering plants, and even butchery, hunting wild game. These raw materials fit into your crafting professions. You can craft weapons, armors, and other items or workbenches using the materials you've collected. The crafting system is said to be inspired by games like New World and Arc-Age, which suggests a robust gathering and crafting loop where players can create top-end gear if they invest the time. There's trading as well, and yes, player trading is confirmed. No word on Action House yet, but likely. An entire in-game economy will emerge from these systems. One particularly intriguing aspect is how the chronotector, your time device, ties into progression. Gathering and exploration are major parts of progression, and the chronotector might enable special activities, perhaps time-limited events or time travel quests that yield rare materials. For example, you might find a fissure in time that leads to a hidden mining node in the past, or a fishing spot that only appears at midnight in an alternate timeline. Ooh. The possibilities are wild, and I love that they're pushing beyond the typical grind XP, do dungeons, repeat formula. Also worth noting, the world evolves with players' activity. As players collectively explore and complete certain content, new areas or events can unlock. This could mean community-driven server progression, where say, if enough people clear a certain number of chrono gates, a new zone opens up or a world buzz is triggered. It's a living world approach, one that encourages the community to work together. We need that nowadays, guys. Or perhaps compete to uncover everything. And for those wondering about gear progression, yes, there's gear to chase, but it's not going to have some of the dreaded mechanics players hate. Specifically, gear enhancement is straightforward and not RNG based. In an earlier test, it was revealed that upgrading your gear will not involve the frustrating random break chances or fail stacks seen in games like Black Desert or Arc H. If you have the required materials, your upgrade will succeed. Boom. No blowing up your hard-earned sword because of bad luck. So that is great news for those of us with very bad RNG. That's a huge relief for anyone traumatized by MMO gear enhancement systems. Chrono Odyssey is steering clear of those casino mechanics, focusing more on consistent progression rather than lottery upgrades. Whew! Alright, let's address the elephant in the room for any MMO: monetization. We've got some good news here. Chrono Odyssey is confirmed to be buy-to-play, B2P. You purchase the game once, and there's no monthly subscription fee. This already sets it apart from many Korean MMOs, which often launch as free-to-play with heavy cash shops. In fact, Kakao Games, the publisher, has explicitly stated the game will use a B2P model with future paid expansions to fund continued development. So it's more akin to Guild Wars 2 or Elder Scrolls Online's model. That's a promising start for those of us worried about pay-to-win shenanigans. Now, does B2P automatically mean no pay-to-win? Not entirely. It depends on the cash shop. The developers haven't fully detailed the cash shop yet, but they have confirmed that there will be cosmetics and an in-game economy with trading. The hope and our expectation is that the cash shop will focus on cosmetic items, outfits, maybe mounts, or quality of life things like character slots, and not selling player power. Given that they'll make money from selling the game and expansions, they have less pressure to shove in overpowering cash items. So buy to win becomes less likely. However, Kakao's history with games like Black Desert and Arc H has players understandably wary. BDO even began as B2P before pay-to-win elements crept in. Trust will have to be earned, and we'll be watching. The good news is, Chrono Odyssey's team has been pretty transparent so far, and the choice of B2P already signals they want to avoid the typical monetization traps. As of now, no loot box systems have been mentioned, and hopefully it stays that way. If Chrono Odyssey sticks to selling cosmetics and maybe convenience items like extra storage or account services, while keeping the gameplay fair, it could become a poster child for fair monetization in a genre that desperately needs it. We'll have to wait and see, but so far, so good. It wouldn't be a level up gaming deep dive without gauging the community's pulse. The hype for Chrono Odyssey is real. Just look at the 400,000 plus players who signed up for the beta even before an official announcement. Hype trailers and gorgeous screenshots have MMO fans dreaming of a true next-gen experience, but veteran players also have hard-earned skepticism. A few concerns that have been making the rounds deserve mention. MMO identity. Some worry that Chrono Odyssey, mind you, might end up feeling more like a co-op action RPG than a massively multiplayer world. The emphasis on small group content and solo-friendly design has traditionalists concerned about the lack of large-scale social activities. Will there be epic sieges or 20-player raids down the line? Or will Cetera feel more like a shared world adventure game? The developers insist it's a true MMORPG with massive shared servers. But until players experience it firsthand, this question will linger. Player versus player depth. On the flip side, PvP-oriented players wonder if there's enough to satisfy them. Opt-in world PvP and PvEVP bounties sound fun, but what about structured competitive modes or PvP progressive rewards? If Chrono Odyssey is too PvE-centric, it might not retain those who live for conflict. Sorry. The developers have hinted more PvP will come in time, but it's something to watch. A robust PvP endgame, even if it's small-scale, can greatly extend an MMO's longevity. Pay-to-win fears. We touched on this monetization, but it bears repeating. Many fans are cautiously optimistic that B2P will keep the game fair, yet there's a trust but verify attitude. The moment any whiff of pay-to-win appears, the community will be up in arms. For now, the messaging has been reassuring, but players will be scrutinizing the cash shop as soon as it goes live. I'm watching you. Content depth and endgame. As with any new MMO, players wonder what the endgame will look like. If the game doesn't have traditional raids, what do progression-focused players aim for? Possibly high difficulty expeditions, world bosses, or mastering multiple classes and life skills. The developers have talked about the evolving world and adding new zones and classes over time, so we know more content is planned post-launch. But at release, the endgame might be more about horizontal progression, variety of activities, rather than a single vertical gear grind. That can be refreshing, but it also needs to be fulfilling to keep people hooked. Despite these questions, the overall sentiment is optimism, tempered with realism. In an era of many MMO launches that failed to meet expectations, players are wise to be cautious. The positive sign is that Chrono Odyssey's team has shown they're listening. Many of its design choices, like flexible classes and non-linear progression, seemed aimed at addressing common MMO pain points. It feels like the developers are genuinely trying to learn from past MMOs, keeping what works and discarding what doesn't. If it ain't broke, right? Still, until we get our hands on it, this all remains hopeful speculation. Cautious optimism is warranted. I'm talking to myself here. Mark your calendars. Chrono Odyssey's first closed beta is happening in June 2025. This test is PC only and will run via Steam. Kakao Games has open signups for the beta. All you need to do is head to the Chrono Odyssey Steam page and apply for the playtest. You can also sign up on their official website. At the time of this video, signups are already live and hundreds of thousands of players have thrown their names into the hat. If you're lucky or got in early, you'll get an invite to experience Cetera's time-twisting action firsthand. What can we expect in the beta? The developers have shared that the beta will feature 3 out of the 6 classes. Specifically, the Swordsman, Ranger, and Berserker will be playable. This covers a nice range of playstyles: melee hybrid, ranged, and heavy melee. The other classes, Sorcerer, Assassin, and Paladin, are likely still being fine-tuned and will appear later, perhaps in future tests or at launch. The beta will also let us try both solo and group content. Don't expect the full world of all features to be available. This is a slice of the game meant to gather feedback on core systems, service stability, and balance. The developers have stressed the beta is not a content-complete product, so easy there, but a test to help them polish the experience. There may be level caps or limited zones to explore, but it's our first real hands-on with Chrono Odyssey, and that's exciting. If you're on console, you have to sit tight a bit longer. No console beta has been announced as of yet. The full release is planned for PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X and S, with cross-platform play intended. It makes sense that they're testing on PC first. As for when the game will launch, no date has been given. Given the beta timing, late 2025 might be optimistic for release. 2026 could be more realistic if they take time to iterate. We'll keep an eye on official news as development progresses. One more thing, if you do get into the beta, be sure to provide feedback, for a pal. The developers seem genuinely keen on player input. This is our chance as a community to help shape an MMO from the ground up. If something feels amazing or if something concerns you, let them know. If you see something, say something, right? Early feedback can be heavily influence final design decisions, whether it's class balance, PvP tuning, or quality of life features. So dive in, test things out, and make your voice heard. Chrono Odyssey is shaping up to be one of the most ambitious MMO projects in recent years. We have high hopes for its innovative features, a world that spans eras, a combat system that plays with time, flexible class builds, and a promise of fair monetization. It feels like the developers are trying to build an MMO that avoids the usual pitfalls and delivers something fresh. Now I want to hear from you. Does Chrono Odyssey get your gamer senses tingling? Which feature excites you or worries you the most? The time manipulation, the open world design, the class system, or something else? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let's get that discussion going. If you haven't, smash that like button, share this with your gaming community, and do not forget to subscribe so you never miss a drop. Get those notifications turned on as well. Who knows? Go crazy. And if you're still in that MMO mood, don't stop here. Go check out some of our other videos, whether it's deep dives, brutal breakdowns, or hot takes. Every video is a side quest. Pick your next adventure and keep the grind going. For now, this is Alonso. I'll see you on the next one.